Hey friend, Michelle Dennis Evans here. Welcome to Creator to Write, where we turn blank pages into finished work. You'll be encouraged, inspired, and learn practical strategies to move forward with your writing, whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your craft. And if you're looking for ways to support your creative work with an additional income stream, I'd love to chat with you. Please reach out on social. Now for today's episode. Today I am joined by the beautiful Penny. Welcome to the show, Penny. How are you today?
Hi, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here to chat about writing, one of my favorite things.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, that's a really big question. So, a little bit about myself. Well, I'm obviously here because I'm doing something creative. So my main creative thing is writing. Um, I am, I'm a Christian. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a wannabe gardener, but I will have to admit that the best things I grow in my garden are the things that grow by themselves.
Love it. I would love to be a gardener too, but looking at my window, I see a lot of weeds.
Oh, I'm very good at growing weeds as well. Yes.
You're a children's writer. Do people
Yes.
ever ask when you're going to write a real book?
Yes, they do
What do you
sometimes.
consider a real book, I would say?
I know. As someone who writes for young people, you would understand that we consider what we write definitely real book. We put a lot of effort into it. So, yes, I do get that question quite a bit, but I do think a children's book is a real book. And some of my favorite books and the books that are on my keep forever shelf are children's books. So I figure if I'm holding those kind of books in that esteem, then I'm writing a real book. Yes.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And have you written outside of that genre? Do you ever feel boxed in?
No, I've never felt boxed in. I think when I first started writing for publication, it was deliberately to fill a need that I felt was there, to write the kind of books that I wanted to read to my daughter, especially books that explored ideas of faith and who God was. And that was really important to me. So I've always been thinking in terms of children and how to communicate stories that matter and ideas of theme. And children's just been my focus. I might one day write a book for grown-ups. I have a few ideas brewing and I'm collecting some research and whatnot, but my heart is communicating big truths to little kids and in
Yeah.
the best way. And so I write a whole bunch of different things. I've written picture books, I've written junior novels, I've written young adult fiction, I write short stories, Bible studies. I write for the Christian market as Penny Reeve, so that's where I get to talk about faith and literature and that's really probably my sweet spot. I also write for the general market. I have a pen name for that. It's called Penny J. I can show you one of those books. So this is one of my Penny J titles. That's for the general market. And then I partner up and I write with my friend Cecily Ann Patterson, and we write as Ella Shine to write a series of fun chapter books for kids. There's so much scope in children's literature. I never feel boxed in.
That's so cool. How did you come up with that name when you two joined together?
Well, we wanted something sparkly, something that was fun, and we both thought the name Ella was cute, and Shine was, that was maintaining the sparkle feel. That particular series of books is about two best friends who are not allowed to have a pet of their own, and so they start pet sitting a grumpy cat, and you can see the little sparkles there because there's just a little dash of magic with animals that perhaps a cat that can talk or a bearded dragon that's allergic to cats and sneezes glitter all over the house. So things like that. We wanted to go with that sparkly, shiny feel.
Fun. Yeah, they sound really fun, those books.
Oh, and they're so much fun to write as well. Cecily and I have a ball.
Yeah, yeah, I bet you do. So, I guess your writing routine looks really different when you're writing just as you and then when you're writing together. So, what
Oh,
does your
yes.
routine look like?
It does, although I don't really have a routine. I think it'd be really helpful if I did. Like I've heard of some authors who perhaps wear a certain hat or a pair of slippers when they sit down to write. And they've got this really fine-tuned routine that just allows them to just get into the zone. I don't really have that, I think, because my life is not that organized. I've got my 15-year-old is doing distance education this year, so he's around all the time. My husband works from home several days a week. So we're just sort of juggling different home routines. So my writing has to fit into different spaces, and I have to be really creative about how I do that. But I have noticed that I've got a few habits that help me go from, you know, thinking about what's for dinner and whether I should get the meat out of the freezer, like we chatted about before, and getting into the story writing. One of those is the importance of taking notes and sort of journaling, brainstorming ideas. If I know that I've got a story to work on, that's a really important process for me. At the moment, I'm working on my PhD and I'm doing a creative writing PhD. So I've got to write about 10 short stories for teenagers. And so when it comes time to write a new short story, I've got to kind of think of the ideas. And so I start just journaling, writing questions to myself that I need to answer. Like, what does the character do in this situation? I'll just write out the question and then I'll just free write some answers. I've also noticed recently, do you do this, Michelle? Do you brainstorm visually? Like I've started, I'll sketch things. Like I'll sketch, like if I've got a character who's sitting under a tree, I found it really useful just to sketch a tree and a stick figure underneath. My pictures are terrible, but there's something about that visual process that seems to help my ideas. Do you do anything like that?
No, I do have a very vivid imagination though, so I will stare off into oblivion and just get the images in my mind and wait until I see it before I can
Yeah.
write
I think we underestimate the importance of staring off into oblivion as writers.
it.
I think it's a really important strategy for getting those ideas to sort of get them to come together so that we can put them into words.
You're
That
right.
would be one of the things that I rely on heavily. Yeah.
Sketching and staring.
Yes, yes. And then I think another habit that I've found is to be very strategic about what kind of writing I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
and whether like do I need to have really deep empty space, no noise around me so that I can really sink into a story, that I really need that if I'm starting something new,
Right.
or is it a project that I can duck in and out of in between emails or putting the washing on the line, etc. So I think having written for a number of years now, I'm able to pick and choose and realize which types of writing require which kinds of spaces.
Right.
So that's a habit that I've been fine-tuning recently, and it's definitely worth listening to yourself and your creativity to know how to work. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
different for everybody.
Yes. And something that a lot of our community is lacking in is boredom. And when we can
Mm.
allow ourselves to be bored
Yes.
and just free think, that's when
Yeah.
the creativity comes up.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
last weekend I was actually on a writing retreat with a good friend of mine, Katrina Rowe, and we book it every year and we lock it in our diaries. And so we were there and we were chatting together about life and about writing, and we're trying to get words on the page. And as I was driving home from that, I just felt it was so important just to sit in the car, not listen to music, not listen to anything, just let my brain have space to put all the ideas together and to just to be bored while I was driving. And
Mm.
and it was really interesting because I came up with some really key moments that I would need to write in the next part of my story as I just forced myself, like I was watching the clock because it was a full hour of just driving in silence.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
yeah, it was really fruitful. That boredom
That's
is,
cool.
you're right about the boredom.
Yes. So, what's the hardest thing about being a writer for you?
Yeah, there's also hard things. But I was reminded by somebody that I met in the US that being a writer isn't the hardest thing in the world, so we can't feel too sorry for ourselves. But I think for me, one of the hardest things is knowing when to keep going with a project,
Hmm.
especially when it's been difficult to not so much the writing, but trying to find a home, like a publishing home for that project. Because so much of what we do has no guaranteed outcome as a writer. We don't know until we've got to the end of a project whether it's really going to work. I mean, maybe some people do, but I don't. And so you're investing hours and hours into a project, whether it's a story or a short story or whatever. And I think for me, it's hard to know to keep going sometimes, to believe in myself as a writer,
Mm.
to know that I've got what it takes to pull this project off. to get it to the standard that's a publishable standard, and then to then know how far to push it when you're trying to find publication, especially if you're going the traditional publishing route and the doors just keep closing. That can be really discouraging. And I probably find that the hardest thing, that
Mm.
just knowing the wisdom, trying to seek out, nut out the wisdom to stick out a project, and or when to perhaps lay a project down, even
Yeah.
though I love it, but maybe
Yeah.
this isn't the right time for that book. Or yeah, that I would say is one of the hardest things for me.
Absolutely. And how do you deal with that discouragement?
I will admit that I do wallow a bit. And I know that's not helpful, but I think the first step is acknowledging that it occurs. So I do wallow a little bit, and then, but I try not to stay in that space too long. Um, I think it's really helpful to have writers in your community who back you in and who believe in what you're doing as well.
Mhm.
Um, so just I know I'm part of the Amiga Writers Australian Christian Writers Network in Australia, and some of the friendships that I've gathered from that community um, have been so important. And they're the people who I might have shared an idea with at some point in the journey, and they believe in it.
Mm.
And because they believe in it, when you're feeling like you're not sure, it just gives you that extra oomph to keep going.
Mhm.
I think another thing that really helps is getting feedback from writers about, not from writers, from readers about work that's been done in the past. It's probably similar for you. As a children's writer, we don't get a lot of feedback for our writing. Well, I don't anyway. I don't have lots of reviews on Goodreads or, and I don't get floods of email, but every now and then, and I think God seems to time it right when I'm at my wit's end, he'll often just prompt somebody to send me an email to say, you know what, I was reading your book with my kid and this is the difference that it made. And that really is a real encouragement. I think both of those things, getting feedback from readers and getting support from other writers, they're sort of external things. I think when you're feeling discouraged and you're not sure, it's as a Christian writer, it's important to just keep bringing your writing to God.
Mm.
I had probably a couple of difficult years, but one year in particular where I just wasn't sure if I was supposed to keep going. Like there was no external evidence at that time that I should keep going, and I had to just keep bringing my writing to God and just,
Mm.
is this what you want me to keep going with? Because it does take a lot of time and energy. And I did feel at each time that I got to that point, God was saying, yeah, keep going, keep going. And there was one time where I received an email from a grandmother in North Carolina, and she literally told me, keep writing in her email. And I took that as a confirmation to keep going. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good that you do get those little pieces of encouragement
Mm,
just to spur you on so you don't
yeah.
give up.
Yeah.
And what is one mistake that you've made that others can avoid?
I would say that, I mean, I've made so many mistakes. Like my first book came out in 2002, so I've had quite a lot of time to make mistakes in my writing journey. And I feel like a lot of what I've learned is through much trial and much error. But probably one of the most recent mistakes is something I stumbled into by accident, and it was assuming I had to do all of this by myself. So I knew I needed to build a platform, an author platform. I was going to all the conferences and listening to all the talks, and there's all that emphasis on you've got to be on social media and you've got to be on Instagram and you've got to be, you've got to be, got to be. And so I was trying to do all those things.
Mm.
And I was getting so discouraged because I couldn't see the fruit coming from that. And yeah, there was a point last year where I really felt convicted, I guess you could say, that I needed to step back from social media
Yeah.
for a considerable chunk of time.
Mhm.
I'm back there a little bit, but not as much as I was.
Mm.
And I think I had to really learn that I don't have to be everything to everybody as a writer, even if I'm trying to build my platform. Because ultimately, if God wants my books out there, then He'll show me what I need to do. And apart from that, I don't need to panic. And so I'd say one of the mistakes would be thinking that you have to do everything that is advised to you to do as an author, especially an author starting out. And it is important to have a platform, like a platform is like the people that hear you when you tell them about something. So if I'm going to say I've got a new book coming out, who's going to hear that message? And that's kind of how I see platform. That's important. It's not the be all and end all. And if building your platform is killing your creativity,
Mm.
then the balance is off. So I
Yeah.
would say that would be a mistake that I probably did for many, many years. And I'm probably still in that space a
Yeah.
little bit, but it's something we need to thoughtfully look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Is that something
agree.
you've
Yeah,
experienced as
and
well?
Annie Hamilton in Brisbane
Hmm.
last year, I think it was, she spoke about presence before platform. I think that's the way
Yeah.
she put it. And I hear those words a lot now whenever I'm thinking about platform and what it looks like. It's actually,
Yeah.
what does God say?
Yeah.
Does God want me to go?
Yeah.
And that's where these interviews started from because I heard from
Yeah.
God to interview authors. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, taking it to God first
Mm.
and
Mm.
just always double checking that that's where He wants you at that point in
Yes.
time and
Yeah.
you're doing what He wants you to do rather
Yeah.
than doing what everyone else says. I agree.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it changes. It's different for each different author. Like, you've been asked to do these particular interviews and to
Mm,
bring that creativity and that discussion of writing with Christian authors to the fore. And notice that's also other focused as well.
mm.
And that's something that I felt God encouraged me to do as well. Look at things that are other people focused, not just, oh, look at me, look at me. You know.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. So we support our community. Hmm.
exactly.
What are you looking forward to in the future? What excites you most about your future?
Do you mean my future or my future as a writer?
Give me both if you want to
Oh.
share.
Yeah, yeah. I think in my future, I like life future. I am looking forward to Jesus coming back. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen in my lifetime or not. If it doesn't, then I get to meet him when I go to heaven. I'm really looking forward to that. I think sometimes I find living on this world is hard for my heart. There's a lot of aching and a lot of brokenness, and I find that challenging and difficult. And so I think I do have a very much a sense of longing for Jesus to set things right in the world. And I think so. I mean, that's a very long-termy kind of future thing. I don't know when that'll all take place. And so I think I look forward to seeing God do his thing in the in-between stages as well. That's
Hmm.
I look forward to seeing my kids at the next stage of life. Yeah, all those kinds of things. I look forward to the bulbs coming out in my garden. Those are the sorts of things I look forward to. And in my writing, I mentioned I think before that I'm working on my PhD, a creative writing PhD, and I've been doing that for quite a few years now. And I will admit I'm looking forward to finishing.
Wow.
It's been really good, and it's really stretched me as a writer, and in terms of the way that I think about spirituality and fiction and spiritual questions. Um, so I've loved it, but it
Hmm.
has also been a large project, and it's also meant I've had to say no to other things.
Mm.
So I am looking forward to finishing that, even though I
Hmm.
enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to, um, I recently got an agent in the United States,
Oh,
and so
congratulations.
I'm looking forward to seeing if that is something that God will use to open more opportunities to write as Penny Reeve, to write more
Mhm.
Christian children's books. So just I'm
See
excited
what
to see
tomorrow
what will
brings.
happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today, Penny. And for those of you still watching, please hit that like and subscribe button. I will pop all of Penny's details below so you can go and follow her as well and get her fun and gorgeous books. And Penny, do you have any last words for the wannabe writer out there or the people listening?
For the wannabe writer, I would say learn as much as you can. Be prepared to face the reality of what the publishing industry is like. It's continually changing, but there are always different opportunities. So, as long as you've got a good grasp of reality and you're willing to do the work to improve your craft and to learn about the industry, Make sure you hold on to the passion project that you've got. Hold on to it tight, but accept lots of guidance and read lots. Read lots. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you for
been great
having
chatting
me.
to you.
Oh, it sure has.
And we'll see you next time on the Created to Create author interview series. Thanks for hanging around till the end. Please remember to leave a review if you've enjoyed this podcast and share it with a friend. You never know who is wanting to get those words out of their head and into a book.